Okay, so this is Captain Sweep of the New Paradigm Toolkit and Planetary Guardians, and I'm here with Ramayan from Bali, who is delving into the world of Chat GPT and AI. Uh, what do you
I mean,
what do you have to say for yourself?
well, we're in the midst of another seismic shift. You know, people thought the big shift in the web was going to come with blockchain, and blockchain was a big shift, but the blockchain was more of a shift of accounting. It was a shift in money, and this is where the big change in blockchain comes in: is ownership. Who owns what? Who owns what content? Who owns money? Who owns the supply? But in terms of the user experience for the end user, most people don't really see a change in the behavior because the user experience blockchain is very complicated. It's very hard for the average user to be able to grasp how to use it, how to send money, having wallets, multi-chain, multi-sig wallets, transactions. It's more technical, and so it's only really been for the hands of the few. Only things like NFTs have become more widespread and more ubiquitous that people get it, a collectible digital object. So Web3 still will transform the world because we will see a change in guard of ownership, and it's a massive cultural change. But AI, okay, ChatGPT has gone from to 100 million users, 100 million users in a month.
Jeez.
Right? That's the entire amount of users we've had on Web3 in 15 years within the context. Okay. Why? Because you can log in, you can write a prompt, and you can get a response. There's no installation required, there's no thinking required, there's no very minimal training. I wouldn't say no training required, but to start, there's none. And it feels like magic. It feels like I entered a prompt and then, hey, write me a poem on, sakura leaves in autumn sunshine, and it writes you a poem, right? Write me 500 word prose on this, and it writes it to you. And for people, that feels like magic. And it's created a new level of accessibility for people to become creative. Now, this is just the beginning. You're starting to see text to image generation, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, DALL-E. You're starting to see text to 3D avatar creation. You're starting to see text to 3D world creation. You're starting to see image to image creation. You're starting to see image to video creation, text to video creation. Every type of media that can be created, text to UI creation. Take a look at Use Galileo. You're literally able to be like, build me a login screen for this, and it'll build you a fully formed Figma login screen just from text. This is the world of generative AI, using adversarial models, and it's changing the world. And one of the biggest ways it's going to change the world is it's going to make everybody a creator. Okay. Right now, networks, TikTok and Instagram, most people aren't creators. Most people are watchers. It's the bold few who have the knowledge and skill to become creators. In the next network, in the network of the future, everybody will be a creator. Everybody will be able to enter a single prompt to generate a meme, a single prompt to generate an image, a single prompt to contribute value, and be able to remix each other's creativity, right? Because what does AI basically? It's a remix engine, right? It's remixing the world's knowledge. It's
Right.
it's remixing the world's video. So everything that we were doing before in Veeam, which was understanding the remix economy and the remix engine, is coming into play now because AI is the ultimate remix engine. Right? So how are you able to create a world where culture is being remixed so fast that it's evolutionarily going to adapt and move our culture forward? And TikTok showed this, right? TikTok is remixed, doing duets in each other, remixing each other's stuff, using audio, remixing it to clips. So TikTok is like the baby steps of what a remix economy looks like. AI is going to take it to a whole other level. And, that's kind of the world that we're seeing about to bring.
So how is this going to connect into creation as a Web 3.0 platform for creators? I guess it's now you're integrating all the AI apps, or
Yeah, so we're integrating the AI apps. So on creation phase, it asks you one question: what do you want to create? You put your prompt, and it will connect all the different APIs and AI and generate them for you.
oh, so it's doing multiple AI functions. So you're just combining them and putting them together in one space, and then having it as an output in your network kind of thing.
But here's the thing: how do we learn how to use these tools? We learn from each other, right? We learn from community. We learn from people entering an awesome prompt, and you're like, whoa, look what they did. What can I do? Right? So right now, there's no network for this. There's no place that you go to learn and grow and integrate with these tools. There's no place except for YouTube that you kind of go and look at it. We want to create the creator network, the creation spaces, right? And what's going to happen is people are going to be able to do projects. Like people are going to be building entire worlds in a creation space. People are going to be building entire projects. They're going to be building entire games. Because if everybody has the tools to be able to generate text, images, videos, 3D models, art, what is it? What does it mean to be a creation community where everybody can create? That is a new, not yet seen.
Well, I mean, one of the best things I saw early on was this guy, I guess, who put the prompt of if every nation was an evil villain, what would they look like, right? And that was like coming up with the best prompts, coming up with the best ideas. But it, you know, what about, have you been thinking much about Zamir's project, about the
I have been.
The virtual reality game? Because I think that's probably the funnest project. Like of everything that let's say the three of us are working on, I think that's got the most potential to really tap into, I think, which we all want to do, and that's to improve the education, right? To create a methodology to spiritually evolve that isn't going to be some sort of transhumanistic, you know, plot to detach ourselves from our soul, you know, like we're entering into strange territory, I believe.
Yeah, we are entering into really strange territory, and you know, we need things like that to be able to keep us on track. And that's why this book I'm writing right now, Creativity in the World of AI. We have to explore what is creativity, what is creation, what is the source of creation, what is the architecture of reality, who are we, what does it mean to create, who is creator? If you're going to say creativity, then who's creator? Are you a creator? What does that mean? So we actually go and unpack these questions before we go into AI itself, because in the book, I completely counter the notion of transhumanism.
What do you mean counter?
Well, what does it mean to go beyond human? It means to ascend, it means to evolve, it means to awaken. The idea that we have that somehow AI is what transhumanism is, isn't actually true. You're augmenting human capability, but you have to understand the different levels of human capability from both a physical, mental, and spiritual level, otherwise you'll have a wrong assessment.
Well, are you distinguishing sort of like the chipped from the non-chipped? Because I think with transhumanism, there's the assumption that there's implants, there's the assumption that there's control mechanisms from outside of you that have impact on whatever is going to be your upgrades. And I think that if we're looking at an alternative to transhumanism, and we're looking at, okay, how do we as a community get intelligent? How do we, because it's going to be like, essentially at some point, there's going to be an exponential growth in intelligence. And it could be, let's say, the controllers of whatever's behind the transhumanist plot, let's say. I don't think they're actually that intelligent because they're greedy. They always have the same intention, and it's power and control and greed, it seems to me. I mean, I could be wrong on that one. I'm sure there's some billionaires that do have good intentions and are doing good things, but the trust is low on those guys. But I just see, like within our DNA, I think there are these higher aspects of like what the gene keys are pointing to, or what any type of ascension or enlightenment points to, that within us is the evolution of our whole being. But now with AI, can AI be used by the collective to, you know, create a new type of organizational structure that is actually good for the people? I mean, that's what we're essentially aiming at, right?
That's the exact question. And that's why I was like, oh, you know, DAOs are going to be it. Well, maybe. But in fact, I think we jump to the end of the hero's journey, so to speak. That like everybody's in DAOs and we're in this new synarchical model and kumbaya and we're all fucking sharing revenue and it's all good. I was like, well, humans haven't quite gone through the right steps in the hero's journey to land on that fully in a meaningful way. Meaning that DAOs are a teal structure. If we're using Ken Wilber's kind of, model. And a teal structure requires a teal level of consciousness, right? That means that you have to have upgrades in consciousness to be able to establish yourself at a level where you have the awareness. Like, and this is one thing I've always loved about you, Elijah. I will give you credit for, publicly, is you've always been one of the most generous people with your creations. Always. You've always given your knowledge. You've always given it out. You've always opened it out. And even when you were first working with me 10, 15 years ago, you set out, I'm open to have percentages. I only need 20%. I want to see everybody succeed inside of this ecosystem, right? That is a teal mentality that you've had for very long, that has been embedded in you. It's part of your inherent generosity in your spirit. That is, I think, it's why Spirit has given you the system that has given you and given you the knowledge that it's given you. You can't fake that part. Like, that part you can't fake. That part you can't learn. That part you can't knowledge. That part you can't. That part is something that has to come from the human spirit. That says, I want to operate in this way because I see the world in this way, because I'm connected to the world in this way, because I see the possibilities of what happens. And so the reason I'm getting on this tangent is why draw back to AI? How does this draw back? Well, before, become an example, such a hard work, constant daily content, constant daily creation, promotion, images, headlines, YouTube titles, all the work that goes into becoming influencers. Like, not just one job, it's like a job of a whole fucking group of people. Anybody who's trying to do it, know that you're gonna have to hire people to do that. Well, in the world of AI, with one click, you can have headline generation, title generation, thumbnail generation, right? That change the nature of how people are going to be able to share. What happens if the future influencer is a community? Because if the tools to create are in everybody's hands, everybody can really participate in a meaningful way in the act of creativity, then what if the future influencer is a community? What if the future brand is a community? What if the creation space becomes a container where people are generating content, creating together, and the wealth that's generated is captured back into the community that's then distributed to people, right? The DAO model, or the model of shared distribution, comes as a outcome of the capacity of the means of production being able to be decentralized. That's kind of the emergent thesis that I'm starting to see here.
Do you know what I think is going to happen? I think it already has happened, but you never admit it. That the shared knowledge community at some point will be that primary reference point, because it actually has a structure. The DAO in itself is structureless, right? And then you build your structure within it, is my guess, right? That people are not, the DAO is not coming with a specific structure unless, let's say, we have the inflow matrix as an operating system.
Absolutely not. It's coming with a set of rules, not structure.
Okay.
That's the difference. Now,
okay. So, because it's like in basketball, right? I mean, if you have a point guard, you got a forward, you got a center, and at some point, let's say each of us is going to want to do let's say we're building this game, and let's say I'm really good at structuring the whole game, but you're really good at mission definition, and you all of a sudden get really hyped about creating missions, and I get really hyped about the whole architecture, and Zamir's hyped about trying to keep us out of his game. Anyway, but we're doing what we actually want to do, right? And that looks to functionality, and that looks to a job that has a specific function that then works together to create this larger output, which is, let's say, an output of the whole community. So again, like just looking at it, like the shared knowledge community is focused on jobs. It's focused on, okay, there's 144 jobs, and then from those positions you can come together to form teams. You can create different little product teams, right? I mean, the basic thing of having all of your infrastructure and marketing there together, and then you just come up with ideas, pop, and then you can pop it out. And it sounds like, again, with AI, we don't need those big teams. We could probably do it, with very small teams with good questions and good. Once we have a real product output process linked into a distribution network, then we're sort of off to the races, right? In terms of just come up with an idea, you have your book, or I have a card set, or you have, whatever it is, all of a sudden creators have this methodology to get their work into the world where they get their percentage. And after a while, it's generating so much income for the whole community that there's larger and larger projects that we can do together. I don't know what the point I was making. I guess I was just trying to make the point of the difference between a very structured DAO versus an unstructured DAO.
I agree, and I'm seeing that more and more now. I'm like, oh, there's not this. We're not actually seeing things. You're seeing the human layer of the human organizational layer for a productive output, and you're creating a categorization in a number system that flows through. All the DAOs are doing is saying this is how money is accounted and how decisions can be made to make it decentralized. Those are complementary, not exclusive in any which way or form.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, because I always thought the card set was the first thing through to create that distribution system, but I mean, it doesn't have to be, and it might not be. I'm just wondering where you're at with that, because we have said at a certain time that you were going to get some card sets, and we haven't done it, but we should, I think. And maybe start working on the manual together. And did you see that last video I made about the marketing convos?
No.
It was I sent it to you and to Zamir. Anyway, I've just started making the beginning of little promo videos. I mean, they're not that good, but they're a start. Because I just think that a course for just those marketing convos, is an obvious no-brainer,
I think you got to start using ChatGPT, and I'll tell you why. Okay. ChatGPT is able to provide natural language outputs based on context, right? It's an actual context engine, unlike anything else it has ever done before. So you can put braveness in exploration, and you can ask to derive 10 different points of the context between those two, and it'll give you 10 points of context. The more context you add to it, the more it'll regenerate those responses and work with humans. If we can get the inflow designed with ChatGPT plugged into it, so that anytime someone does a lens or does a reading or actually does it, it gives a natural language contextual output for it to allow humans to be able to think about it.
That's the next step after the reading, right?
Yeah.
You get a reading, and then that gets inputted into the ChatGPT, and then you get an output of what the reading actually means.
Exactly. And we can fine tune that model. So what OpenAI allows you to do is build your own fine tuning. So you can fine tune that in a certain way to create a specific type of output and create a specific type of context and language that you want to use. So fine tuning this with ChatGPT, you can have an app that's a reading, gives people an output, they can print it, it has inflow matrix branding, they can download it as a PDF, and they literally have just done a business reading.
Right. And no human was necessary. And it only cost $19.95.
I know that your thing is training facilitators and you want to get people paid, so that may not be the model you want to go off of, but that can be I don't see this as replacing humans. Nothing will replace humans. Okay, and this is some point I'm going to make in the book. This will give you a generic fucking to give you your 1995. If you actually want somebody to take you deeper and structure your org, you're going to need humans.
Yeah,
you're going to need and have empathy. You're going to have someone work with your teams. But to be able to get an off-the-shelf product that people feel like they're deriving some value that becomes a lead gen tool, this is amazing.
It's funny. I always felt I was waiting for the technology to catch up. I think it's caught up and just blew right by me. What was that? Okay, so usually we talk it like this. We come up with big ideas, and then we set something in motion, and then we forget about it and don't do it. Do we?
Let me share my. Can you give me share screen permissions and?
Yeah. And stop the recording.
Yeah, let's not post this one this very second.
Okay, well, why don't I just pause?
Execute.
So maybe say a little bit about, if anyone's going to watch this, the potential for what can you say about what you're creating there?
So creation space is a place where you become a creator. That's the thing.
Thanks.
If you don't think you're a creator, you will be a creator within 5 minutes of using this tool, within 3 minutes of using this tool. And that is going to be the revolution. Our tagline, our mission is to unlock the creator within everyone. Because we believe that when the creator within everyone is unlocked, it will naturally lead to a completely different society.
Yeah.
The economy is going to be determined by creators and creatives. Right? Now, here's the truth. Everybody's a creator already, right? Well, that's why you said we're going to unlock the creator within you, because you're creating your life. You're creating your dream. You're creating your reality. You're creating everything around you, whether you're aware of it or not, just through your thoughts. But you don't think you are. You just think there's a handful of select group of people called creators, and you're just one of the people that are not. Bullshit. You're a creator. You know, you create your dream, you create your life. And so the beautiful thing about what AI is doing is basically pulling the astral plane closer to the physical plane. In the astral plane, you think, therefore it becomes. And we're bringing that capability here to entrain that understanding amongst all creators. And, you know, we believe that that's going to lead to a new type of economic model of collectivism, because this is going to redefine the Creative Commons. This is going to redefine how we view creativity, and it's going to redefine how we view who we are. Because we have talked about creativity as the mundane things we do to make shit happen. That's not creativity, right? AI is going to automate the mundane to supercharge your creativity. And that's going to be exciting. Nobody wants to do the mundane shit.
Well, we're afraid of getting caught in little boxes.
Ah!
Well, I can't wait to play with it. I mean, I think if anyone's watching right now, if I can say something, that Ramayan is on a quest to build the anything but the shared knowledge community, just so he can rub it in my face and say, this is what it is and this is what it isn't. But at some point, I'm hoping that there's a convergence of what we're doing, and there's a way to have both of what we're trying to aim at, because I think they're similar, and I think we both got pieces of the puzzle that the other doesn't. And I think when they come together, that's my thought, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think what you've been pointing to with the shared knowledge community, however it happens with the exact type of job title that you have, but the vision that you've had of the shared knowledge community is an inevitability. What is a creation space? It's a shared knowledge and a shared creativity community. It's both, right? You're sharing knowledge because every time you make a post, every time you make a creation, you're empowering someone else with the knowledge of how to make a creation, just by the nature of you doing it. Most people in the creation space will not know how to create, but by witnessing 20 other people create, they'll learn how to create. That inherently is a shared knowledge community.
Yeah.
Shared knowledge communities, they're shared creation communities. That's just the first step. That's just a novelty factor. And that's cool. We're starting with there because we're in a novel era, so we can start with novelty. And human beings are attracted to novelty. What comes after novelty? Productivity. Okay. Once you're like, wow, so much fun, super cool tools. Look, I just generated a 3D penis. Like, amazing, right? Like, you know, having so much fun. Then people are like, wait a second, what can I do with this? Holy shit, I have a community of 1,000 people. If I invite them all to here, can they create with me? Wait a second, I'm an influencer that has 100 people in my community. Can they all generate videos and thumbnails and titles and assets for me? Can they be part of my marketing team now that they have all the assets? These are the questions that are going to naturally emerge once people start to see these tools. And that is where the change is actually going to come in, not this early stage. The early stage is just going to be everyone's a creator. The later stage is we can all be productive members of a shared knowledge community. We can all be productive assets. And what happens then? How do you share revenue? How are you able to distribute value? Well, you have to have a new shared model of doing so. And this is what I believe is going to usher in post-capitalism. Because post-capitalism is not the end of trade. It's not the end of commerce. The definition of post-capitalism is when the productive capacity of our labor and our knowledge gets shared with community. That is it. So the shared knowledge, shared resource community, for me, is an inevitability, and it's why I'm doing all of this. You started me, bro, so we're going to end it together.
Well, I'm waiting.
Waiting. Give me
I'm waiting. By the time it happens, I'll be dead, but well, I think when, like, a big missing piece is what you said was the relationship with capital. And I think that what's going to happen with that kind of community wealth is, one, it doesn't take so much to create big things. Like a movie might be made, you know, for $50,000 that can make 20 million when it might have cost 10 million or 100 million in the past, right? I mean, movie costs are going to go down incredibly. Scripts are going to come out of nowhere, right? There's going to be a lot more writing, but I think it's like the greatest experience I've ever had is when there's a peers creating together, and the bounce that comes from working with other artists. That to me is the funnest part, and I think we'll tend to go towards the funnest part at some point, because I think the real artist types, that's all they're doing, right? They just want to have fun, and that's where the best outputs come out.
Yeah, they do. And this is a new world where people can have fun together. They can actually create together in a meaningful way and unlock the people who don't feel like they're creators. Like that experience of somebody who's like, I'm not a creator, and they put a prompt in and they generate a really cool 3D model, and someone else who is a creator is like, wow, that's really cool. I want to remix that. That experience in the body, you can't quantify that. That's something that's a shift in one's perception of self and perception of one's contribution. And I think that's going to be a huge thing.
I wouldn't know. The amount... Did you get your tooth knocked out or something?
I did.
Oh shoot. What happened?
I had a root canal.
Oh man. So
and
you...
got infected. But I'm getting an implant there soon.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
Good, bro.
No one likes problems with teeth. Okay, well that's exciting. It's been a while, too long, but it looks as though, I mean, do you know what? Maybe me, you, and Zam should have a bit of a jam session regarding the game.
Yeah, we should.
Anyway, maybe let's. I think I'm going to talk to him tomorrow, but I don't know if
I'm flying tomorrow. Probably
okay.
won't work for me.
Okay.
I need to time up.
Okay.
Let's get on it.
Okay. Okay. Well, how about at some point let's aim at that, because I think we should do a bit of a brainstorming on that, because I think that's our creativity coming together.
Yeah.
I think could be the.
Well, here's the thing. I told Samir. I said I want to create a creation space for Shambhala, right? Like, let's invite a community and let's use these tools to build it. There's text to 3D avatar building. There's text to 3D world building. There's text to video building. Like, we should be pretty together and just using these tools to build the assets. Let us show how we can use these tools to build a full game.
Yeah. No, I'm totally down for that. That's exciting.
Okay.
So we'll talk soon. Great to see you. Love you, my brother.
Love you too, man.
And good luck, and we shall talk soon.
Talk soon.
All right. Bye.